we anticipated this about Kamala Harris, that there was just going to be a difficulty in running against her. There's going to be a difficulty in running against any Democrat with only 3 or 4 months in which to build a narrative. But in particular, in terms of Harris, is going to be even more difficult because the Republican Party and its sort of media apparatus, and by that I mean almost the Republican Party, there's not a huge daylight between, there's a reason why like 3 of their senators have podcasts,
right?
And that are almost indistinguishable from, Ben Shapiro's.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and I think, the Fox News is literally like, Sean Hannity is Trump's advisor. I mean, there's not a lot of daylight here. And their inclination is to call her a DEI candidate. I mean, they had to be. When the leader of the House has to go to fellow lawmakers and say, guys, don't be overtly racist or misogynist, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Because they don't ever want to be saying that. They don't ever want that reported that they had to say that. But they had to, because not saying it would have been even more problematic for them. And even Vivek Ramaswamy, who himself is a person of color, has to sort of like figure out, like, how do I criticize her without raising this? And it's sort of like, well, maybe I can just keep talking about other Black people, maybe, and that will scare. Here is Vivek Ramaswamy on Hannity.
Spitting bars?
Last night. We'll have some fun. See you on the trail. But guess who's going to replace Kamala Harris? I mean, they don't know what to do here.
So look, I say this as somebody who a year ago predicted Joe was not going to be the nominee. I'm going to predict that Kamala Harris is not going to be the nominee either. And the reason is, if they get one shot, they're going to take their absolute best shot that they can.
Who is it?
That's clearly not Kamala Harris. Well, look, I think there's a lot of open possibilities. I would not write off the possibility that it ends up being Michelle Obama. She checks off the same identity politic boxes, and it's going to be somebody who's maybe above the fray that doesn't create the same kind of infighting that could debilitate their party.
So Barack,
the reality, Sean,
Barack is literally leading the charge, trying to keep his, keeping plausible deniability, and then his own wife takes over. What do you call that?
I think you call it realism, Sean. The reality is, they're going to take their best shot. They waited till after the RNC convention. That timing is optimal for them because it gets closer and closer to the eventual election. They're going to drag this out, I predict, through the Democratic nomination convention at the DNC in late August. I think Michelle Obama is not off the table.
I don't think so.
So what Democratic Party infighting is he talking about?
I think it's honestly like I think it's honestly like they're just trying to pretend like there's a lot more dissent than, I mean, no one could have predicted. I mean, and to your credit, you said there was going to be a lot of enthusiasm. People are going to be so excited. But I mean, even still, no one was going to predict $100 million in, 36 hours or whatever it was. No one was going to predict Zoom calls with 150,000 people, with 40,000 people, with 30,000 people. Nobody's going to predict. I mean, because Zoom kept crashing.
Yes, because of the enthusiasm.
And we should also say that if Michelle Obama does become the nominee at the convention, this latest piece of news would have been a masterstroke, because, of course, this is what's called lulling them to sleep.
This is what you have to do when you're running a shadow campaign, right? A shadow campaign.
Do we have
for
the
Kamala.
tear sheet, or do we even have the audio? Might even be worthwhile.
Well, at least here we have the endorsement, the office of Barack and Michelle Obama. This week we got to catch up with a friend, blah, blah, blah. More thrilled to endorse Kamala, we couldn't be more excited for her or more thrilled to endorse Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee for president of the United States. And right after Biden withdrew, the polling from CBS showed that 79% said Kamala Harris should be the nominee, 21% said someone else. And that was July 21st through 22nd. So snap polls were now July 26th. So this was 48 maximum hours after Biden had dropped out. Already nearly 80% of the party wants her to be the nominee. So they're just wish casting because they want to be able to say she's a man again or something like that. Obama,
well, I think
although they'll try that with Harris. They'll try that with Harris.
Their whole sort of like their whole worldview, or I should say their perspective that they've been telling their audience for years, that Michelle Obama and Barack Obama have been, marionetting Joe Biden, that Joe Biden's not even been the president, that's really been Barack Obama behind the whole thing. That storyline just played out. It just finished. They failed. We don't need to play the video phone call. I mean, it's sort of cringy, to be honest.
Yeah,
that was my only opposition. It's kind of corny.
We're not trying to dampen enthusiasm for Kamala Harris here, right?
I mean, look, Barack Obama, for many of us, was a disappointment, and or more in many instances, across the board. It is a different Democratic Party today, but there's still, candidates are still going to, if there's a West Wing storyline that they can do, or character arc, or that type of dialogue, they're going to engage in it because it appeals to certain groups of people. But
Vivek has been making this prediction about Michelle Obama for like a few months at this point. So this is how he's trying to build up his podcast audience. He's not going to diverge until the die is cast. But he's just like, Kamala Harris is both black, but she's also Indian American, as is Vivek Ramaswamy there. So you can see how he decides to emphasize the racism against black people in his Sean Hannity appearance. That's kind of maybe a topic he feels a little bit more comfortable with.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.